This is Ted Bundy, inside the life of one of America's most notorious serial killers. We start with a quote from Ted Bundy's ex-girlfriend, Elizabeth Kendall. "I still have a sense of disbelief that this man that I loved could go out and do such horrific things." When you hear the name Ted Bundy, fear automatically strikes in the hearts of men and women alike and sends a chill down your spine. Even 32 years after his execution, his cruel and terrifying actions that spanned 7 states between 1974 and 1978 is still horrifying to many around the world. Ted Bundy's crimes shook the whole world, especially when the details contained in his confession were revealed to the public. People are particularly frightened when discovering inside information about the life and trials of Ted Bundy. Join me as we share some of these facts about his life and killing spree. To a few people like Eleanor Louise Bundy, mother of Ted Bundy, her son was an innocent young man who was wrongly accused and executed. Ted Bundy was born on the 24th of November, 1946, to Eleanor Louise Cowell at the Elizabeth Lund Home for Unwed Mothers in Burlington, Vermont. The details of his birth father still remain a mystery, as stated on his birth certificate. With this, some have speculated that the conditions surrounding Ted's birth and childhood may have played a major role in how he turned out. As documented by Eric Banks, conditions at Lund were rather inhumane in that the newborns, similarly to inmates in a prison setting, were referred to by number only. Research shows that newborn humans have proven that a lack of physical affection, constant attention, and care may result in death or catastrophically underdeveloped brain as it pertains to empathy, emotions, and impulse regulation. We may never be able to know beyond a shadow of a doubt how he was treated at Lund's after his mother left him. However, I wonder, was he only neglected at the home, or maybe he was also abused? What do you think? I believe that at first glance, the Cowells seemed like a normal family. However, we'll come to learn that was not the case. After Bundy's mother left him at the home, he remained there for 2 months after his birth. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, considered putting her baby up for adoption, but her father, Small Vowel, apparently wanted the baby to join the family in Philadelphia. When baby Bundy was taken home, he grew up thinking his mother was his sister. Upon thorough research, it's discovered that studies have shown that serial killers in most cases experience the following: psychiatric illness or predisposition via medical history of their family, childhood trauma such as neglect or abuse, resulting deviant behavior and fantasies, all of which Bundy was said to have experienced. In Bundy's family, his grandparents in particular, evidently they suffered from mental illness. Perhaps this greatly affected him in more ways than we'll ever know. Ted's grandmother was said to have suffered from depression and agoraphobia, and his grandfather has been described as a choleric and physically abusive man who struggled with impulse control and anger management. His violence touched everyone, from his animals to employees and even family members, which further begs the question: did Bundy experience physical or psychological abuse at the hands of his grandfather? A closer look at his childhood, which Bundy described as uneventful, reveals that he was a socially awkward child who often crossed the lines of propriety and morality. On at least one occasion, his aunt recalls that she woke up to find her toddler nephew placing knives near her while she was sleeping. She also went on to share in an interview with Vanity Fair that, quote, "I remember thinking at that time that I was the only one who thought it was strange. Nobody did anything." When Bundy was 3 years old, he and his mother, Louise, left Philadelphia for Tacoma, Washington. He was very upset that they had to move because he missed Philadelphia and did not particularly like the new environment. He became even more upset when his mother met and got involved with Johnny Bundy, an army hospital cook, from whom he eventually got the surname Bundy. After Louise and Johnny got married in 1951, Bundy developed the habit of displaying deliberate public tantrums because of his growing jealousy of his mother's new relationship. The relationship between Bundy and his stepfather was always tense. As Bundy grew older, his hatred for his stepfather grew. Some friends of Bundy often witnessed him intentionally provoke his stepfather, who would sometimes also strike out at Bundy in frustration. It was said that Bundy also resented his mother because he was illegitimate. The issue of his birth father was always a sore subject for Ted because it's said that he was often teased by friends about his illegitimate birth, as his father was unknown. Young Bundy had violent tendencies and eventually began to break the law. A fellow Boy Scout recalled Bundy once coming from behind to hit him over the head with a stick. Through his various actions, it's evident that Bundy liked to scare and hurt people. One of his victims recounted how Bundy used to like digging holes in the ground, placing stakes inside, and then covering them with grass. At least one girl fell in and hurt her leg in one of his many traps. Anyone can easily deduce that these things that might have seemed small to other people actually turned out to be more damaging signs than anyone could have imagined. Growing up, Bundy had habits like watching detective fiction stories which had gore-filled depictions of murder. This makes total sense. Also, Bundy was said to have sometimes masturbated inside closets at his junior high school and would get doused with water when he was caught by his schoolmates. This evidently shows that he may probably have been exposed to pornography long before he was even a teenager. Now, a teenager, a darker side of Bundy's character started to emerge. Bundy delved into other lawless acts when he started to shoplift ski equipment because he loved to ski but couldn't afford the equipment. He forged lift tickets in order to be able to hit the slopes for free. As a young teen, he also attempted car theft but had only received a warning as punishment. Most disturbingly though, Bundy further accelerated his illicit acts when he became a peeping Tom who spied on strangers. He confessed openly to going around town at night to look for quote-unquote appealing things to look at. Now, we fast forward to 1965. After attending multiple schools as an undergraduate student, including Temple University and the University of Washington, Bundy would graduate from the University of Washington with a degree in psychology. This was 1972. He had also been accepted to law school in Utah. However, he would never earn his degree. While he was at University of Washington, he became romantically involved with a classmate who was described as a wealthy, pretty, young woman from California. After their breakup, he was devastated because she had everything that he had always wanted: money, class, and influence. By the mid-1970s, Bundy had transformed himself and had become more outwardly confident. Being a part of various campus communities gave him opportunity to study the habits and vulnerabilities of female co-eds who were among his most common targets. In 1972, he graduated with distinction with a psychology degree from the University of Washington. As Ted Bundy was a college graduate who was studying law, he was able to use his education to aid himself in his murder spree. It's also speculated that his psychology degree could have helped him understand ways to isolate victims and also manipulate situations and people to suit his dark desires. Also, he used the advantage of being a college graduate who was studying law to represent himself in court, and in a few instances, used that opportunity to escape. However, he was caught escaping prison. While there is some debate as to when exactly Bundy started killing women and girls, most sources say that he began his murderous rampage around 1974. In February of 1974, University of Washington student Linda Ann Healy, Bundy's first known murder victim, was killed. Bundy went on to commit at least 7 more homicides in Washington and neighboring Oregon through the summer of 1974. These killings included 2 women who had disappeared from Lake Sammamish State Park near Seattle in July. Witnesses who later came forward described a man calling himself Ted who'd asked for help with a sailboat while wearing a sling. A composite sketch was circulated by authorities and it resembled Bundy. The suspect was alleged to drive a Volkswagen Beetle, which also matched Bundy's car. These similarities, as well as the shared name Ted, made a few people around Bundy suspicious enough to reach out to the police with their concerns. Nevertheless, Bundy's skills as a law student and his clean adult criminal record led the police to not consider him as a serious person of interest or a suspect at all. Bundy left Washington to begin his studies at the University of Utah School of Law. This education helped him escape the ongoing investigation in Washington. In the fall of 1974, Bundy's relocation to Utah was marked by the recurring disappearance of women. A year after, he was pulled over by the police, and upon searching his car, the police officer uncovered a cache of burglary tools which included a crowbar, a face mask, rope, and handcuffs. He was arrested for having all these in his possession, and eventually the police began to link him to his much more sinister crimes that he had committed over time. Carol Duranch, one of the few women to escape his clutches, led Bundy to be arrested in connection to her kidnapping. As a result of this, he was convicted and received a 1 to 15-year jail sentence. In 1977, Bundy escaped prison, not once, but twice. The first occasion was when he was indicted on a murder charge for the death of a young Colorado woman, and he decided to represent himself in court. This role gave him access to the courthouse library, through which he jumped out of the window and escaped. However, he was captured 8 days later. Despite the consequences of his first escape, he attempted another escape later that year, and he managed to leave his cell by climbing out of a hole he had made in the ceiling. Not only did he attempt to escape prison the first time, you might be shocked to learn that he made a second escape attempt and actually succeeded. After the second escape from prison, Bundy made his way to Tallahassee, Florida, where he went on to continue his murder rampage, which led to the death of 2 Chi Omega students of Florida State University, whom were attacked alongside 2 other female students while they all slept. A few weeks after, a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach was kidnapped and murdered by Bundy. However, his luck ran out when he was pulled over by the police. Upon closer investigation, evidence linked him to the deaths of the 2 sorority girls. It's said that Bundy's good looks, charm, and intelligence helped him increase his fame and made his trial more popular. In 1980, Bundy married Carol Ann Boone, a mother of 2, whom he had dated before his initial arrest. Boone gave birth to a daughter, Rose, in 1982, and she named Bundy as the father. Bundy fought for his life but was convicted and spent 9 years on death row, appealing his death sentence. During his trial, Bundy confessed to 36 killings of young women across several states in the 1970s. However, some experts believe that the final body count may be closer to 100 or more. It's clear Bundy had no remorse or empathy and was a total psychopath. In July 1979 and later 1980, Bundy was convicted of the 2 Chi Omega murders at FSU. He was given the death penalty twice and received another death sentence in 1980 for the murder of Kimberly Leach. On January 24, 1989, Bundy was executed around 7 a.m. at the Florida State Prison in an electric chair sometimes referred to as Old Sparky. Outside the prison, crowds cheered, and people even set off fireworks after Bundy's execution was complete. William S. Sessions, former FBI director, in a 1992 investigative review of Bundy's methods and confessions, called him, quote, perhaps society's most infamous and notorious serial killer, end quote. He also adds that we may never know the total extent of his devastation. The horrific acts of Ted Bundy destroyed many lives and wreaked havoc all around America. His presence will clearly not be missed. Did we miss out on anything? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video and want to be first in line for new videos, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out, and please hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and don't forget to share with your friends. It goes a long way to helping the channel grow, and it doesn't cost you anything. I'll see you real soon in the next video.